Welcome, my name's Sue. We're going to make a tumbler today with using a sublimation technique. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe below. This is a PYD sublimation tumbler that I'm using, and I don't know about you, but I had some issues when I first started creating tumblers. So I probably do a little bit more extra effort than some other videos. I normally take off this little bottom piece, and I usually try not to touch it too much. You'll also find that I'm a little bit fiddly trying to get it just right. So grab your design after you've printed it and make sure you put it up the correct way. That's one of my mistakes I've made. And I like to get the top and the bottom pretty perfect. So I line the top of the paper directly up with the top of the tumbler, and so that the two pieces are directly aligned, so when they join at the top there, they're pretty perfect. You'll see I'll fiddle around a little bit, sorry. Just undo that and fix it a little bit. Just like to get it just right. I really hate it when it's just a little bit off. It's a very annoying thing for me. So we'll just fiddle around here for a little bit. And when I'm happy with the bottom, if it's a little bit long at the bottom, go back and take that off. Mine's not too bad for this one, but each tumbler is a little bit different. So if you need to reduce the size of your printout to match your tumbler, please do, because if it bends, it will ghost. And once you're happy with it, you can continue on. Now, one of my problems I had was that I had like a ghosting at the top and the bottom. So this technique of pulling it really, really tight around the top of the tumbler first, and just tucking the tape down. I don't usually get too big a piece of tape because it makes it a bit difficult to work with, and too small is a bit fiddly for me. So I use these lengths, and that's not too bad. And then I'll go around and continue to put the pressure on. So I'm almost pulling the tape along until I get to the other side. And if I'm happy with the top, I'll leave it. Otherwise, I will fiddle a little bit more, as you can see, sorry. And then once you're happy with that sitting flat, you can tape down the seam. And I usually tape it down to about not quite halfway. I've put that first tape a little bit off the half. And now I'll go and do the bottom pretty well identical. Don't like to have, there's a bit yucky stuff there, we'll just get that off. I don't know what that's from. And it kind of goes the other way so that you end up with the top of the paper going to the top. So you start with the underneath bit. So I've kind of gone the reverse going around. If you find any pieces that have got a little crease in them, press them down as flat as you can, because that will, the sublimation will not occur properly if they're not adhered properly to the actual tumbler. So press it down all the way, and you'll see I'll probably fiddle again when I get to this next edge, because that's quite important to me, especially that it lines up nicely. And I'll just pull it up so it's perfect, really. It's annoying to me that I need it to be so perfect, really, but never mind. I like it perfect. As perfect as I can be anyway. So once you're happy with it, you can press it down. Just fiddle this a little bit so it's a bit flatter again. Some people don't tape the top and bottoms. I had a lot of trouble with the ghosting when I didn't. Now just tape my way up the seam. So all the seams, no, it's still not quite right. Just give a little bit more of a pull. I like it as lined up as best I can. And once you finish putting all the tape, what I do next is I run my fingernail down the seam, press it down, then run the fingernail along the edge of the seam and also on the other edge of the paper as well, because it just overlaps a little bit, a couple of mil, and then I make sure it's sealed and pressed both sides of that seam. When you're happy with it, take it over to your tumbler press, and we'll head over there next. I'll see you in a second. Okay, here's the tumbler press. So what I'm going to do next is put some baking paper around it. You can use just normal copy paper, anything just to protect it. I'm using some heat protective gloves so I don't burn myself. And I'm just using baking paper for this particular instance. You can use or spudge paper, as I said, copy paper, whatever works for you. The baking paper works for me. Just slide it into your press. I'm using a PYD press. And I've got it set at 180 and for 60 seconds for this first press, which you can probably see in the camera, it's doing its countdown now. Pressure is fairly firm, not tight, otherwise you'll warp your tumbler, and not too loose, otherwise it doesn't press correctly. So I've got it at perhaps a medium pressure, and I might speed this bit of video up because it will take a little while to get through doing this. And once you get to your 60 seconds, you'll get a little beep, open the press, and then rotate the tumbler. Normally rotate it sort of 180 degrees in the press, and press it again for another 60 seconds, still with the baking paper wrapped around so none of the gas goes onto the actual machine. And I'll speed this next bit up too because it's pretty boring watching this. And once it beeps, open again. And now I just turn it for perhaps a quarter turn. This is a little tip that the PYD staff gave me when I was having so much trouble initially. And close it again for just 15 seconds. So this time I just watch the counter go. I don't change the settings or anything. I just watch the counter and count for 15, sometimes 20. In between there's usually fine. And once it hits that point, open it again and remove your tumbler. And I'll just pop it onto my pad over here, which is heat. Now I'll stop the video and I'll come back and open it. What I normally do is leave that cool. Now it's cool. I take all the wrapping off, and I normally don't just rip it off. Some people use a little knife and run down the seam. I always think, oh my God, I'll cut the cup or something, the mug. So I just peel it off patiently. I've tried painter's tape and all sorts of methods, and the wraps in an oven, and this method seems to be the easiest and quickest for me. So I take the top and the bottom off first and just peel that off at the different joints. Makes it a bit easier, the fact that I've used separate pieces. And I'm going to take the sides off, but I'm not just going to rip that off. I'm just going to take it off easily, because if for some reason it hasn't sublimated quite like I expect, I will put it back in, because at this point I could still heat it up again. So I'm just going to take this tape off a little way, and then I'm going to have a little peek. And we'll just have a little peek, and oh, that looks pretty good. A bit like opening a Christmas present when you unwrap your tumbler for the first time. I always get very nervous and excited. It's a bit of a mixture. So keep peeling the tape off. It'll come off pretty quickly in a second. There it goes. And we'll reveal the tumbler. Oh, look at that. I'm pretty pleased with that. This is one of my designs that's on my website, Printable-Magic.com. And She looks very pretty. The seam's pretty good. It's not a seamless design, so there was always going to be a seam. However, it looks like a pretty good seam to me. Anyway, join me once again. I'll pop the lid on. Join me once again when I produce my next video. And you can also see, I'll just hold this up, the paper up. Pretty good coverage off the paper too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.